Hi, I'm Amber Anderson. I'm a leadership coach, and I help leaders learn how to maximize their impact in a way that is authentic, joyful, and expansive through content, coaching, and community. Today, we're going to talk about emotional pain. Fun stuff, right? But don't bail. I'm going to also teach you how to minimize it. So stay tuned to learn the 6 steps on how to become the boss of your brain. Let's dive in. I believe our emotional life is 50-50. Half the time it's good, half the time it's bad. And I hesitate to even use the terms good and bad because there's really no good or bad emotion. But there are emotions that are obviously preferable, things like joy, happiness, love, all of that kind of stuff. And there are things that we might want to avoid. This is going to be the 50% of our emotional lives that people call bad or negative. I like to call this side of the coin disruptive feelings. They cause discomfort and sometimes they cause pain. But even in that 50% of quote unquote negative or bad feelings, there are two different kinds of emotional pain you can experience. There is dirty pain and there is clean pain. So we are going to talk about the difference between the two because dirty pain is bad. We want to avoid it. Clean pain, though, is actually good. It's still pain, but it's actually good pain. So I'm going to describe the difference between the two and teach you how to become the boss of your brain so that you can minimize dirty pain and make more space for clean pain in your life. I learned about this concept of dirty pain versus clean pain from Jody Moore, who is a life coach. Jody Moore explains that clean pain is when you want to feel bad. It's appropriate, it's important, and it's probably a necessary part of your experience. The most extreme example I can think of this that everyone pretty much can relate to is grief. If a loved one dies, you want to experience grief. You want to experience that pain. You're not going to try to change your thoughts to change your feelings to convince yourself that you're not sad and not grieving. That's an example of clean pain. A work related example of clean pain might be the discomfort that comes with courage to have a uncomfortable situation. So let's say you have to give your boss feedback and you're probably not looking forward to that. The emotion you experience attached to that circumstance is probably not going to feel good. So courage does not feel good. Most people would put that in the kind of discomfort 50% part of the equation that they don't love experiencing. But it's clean pain because it's going to advance the work. It's going to help you get closer to the goals. It's adding value somehow. So you actually do want to lean into that clean pain and experience that. On the other hand, dirty pain is when you don't want to feel it because it's keeping you stuck or just not serving you. So, for example, when you look at your calendar for the week and you see that you're in back to back meetings all day, every day, you might feel overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is a feeling most people would put in that negative, quote unquote, negative 50% of the emotional 50-50 equation. Another example might be you see a meeting on your calendar with a person that you don't particularly love working with, and you might have a feeling of dread. Most people would definitely put dread in the negative 50-50 of the emotional equation. These are both examples, overwhelm and dread, that I would label as dirty pain because neither of them is necessary or hopeful for your experience of leadership. So they're pain, their discomfort, and they're not serving you. They're keeping you stuck. So, again, the goal is to minimize dirty pain like overwhelm and dread and annoyance and frustration in that 50% so that you make space for more clean pain like courage, like fear, all of those things that you need to lean into to reach your big goals. So, to recap, assuming we all agree that our emotional lives are generally 50-50, half good and half bad, both clean and dirty pain would fit into the quote unquote bad 50% because they're both types of pain that make us feel discomfort. And by decreasing dirty pain like stress, overwhelm, and confusion, we make room for the 50%. We make room in that 50% for the clean pain like fear, courage, and vulnerability. The clean pain still doesn't feel good, but it serves a purpose. It's discomfort that helps us grow and evolve, whereas the pain of overwhelm, confusion, and stress is dirty pain because it keeps us stuck. So, to simplify even further, if you want to think of the 50-50 as good and bad, overwhelm, stress, and confusion is bad, bad. Fear, courage, and vulnerability is good, bad. So, again, you can on purpose reduce the bad, bad to make more room for the good, bad. But how? I suggest you learn how to become the boss of your brain. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in 6 steps. Step 1 is to identify a pain point. This is a specific problem or a challenge that needs addressing because it's currently causing you to be stuck, unproductive, or even unhappy. It's an area in your life where you're thinking and feeling in a certain way that you don't want. It's not serving you. A common example is really any negativity about work, maybe your boss, a team member, or a colleague. This is a great example of a pain point that you want to identify to do this work. Now that you've identified a pain point to work on, step 2 is to identify the thoughts versus circumstances. And remember, circumstances are facts of the situation, whereas thoughts are your opinions, your judgments, the story you're telling yourself about the circumstance. The easiest way I found to do this is just to ask yourself, what are the facts of the situation versus what is the story I'm telling myself? You can do a thought download, which is just kind of a free writing activity. Set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes and write down all your thoughts about the situation, that pain point. So, what is the pain point? And then just write about it for a few minutes. Go back through that thought download and highlight anything that is a fact, that is objectively true, that everyone would agree with. You could prove it in a court of law. Everything else is just your thoughts. This is really important to know because while you can't control the facts of the circumstance, you have all the control over the thoughts you have about it. So you've identified the pain point, you have identified your thoughts about the pain point, and have reminded yourself that thoughts are optional. So, step 3 is to practice recognizing your thoughts so that you can catch them like they're a criminal. So, be aware of them, know the feelings that they generate, know what your go to thoughts about this circumstance are. So, as soon as you start to have them, you're easily able to recognize them and catch them in that moment. Be aware of them, watch them, but don't believe them. They are just your opinions, they are not facts. Once you start to recognize what is that main thought, main 2 or 3 thoughts you have that are causing you this pain, find a believable redirect. That's step number 4. What I mean by that is just find a new thought that is just slightly better than the one that you've had on repeat, that one that your brain offers you on default, and start practicing that thought instead. I like to use a concept called the thought ladder. So let's say the ultimate thought you want to believe is the top rung of the ladder, and the default thought that you're currently believing is the bottom rung of the ladder. You want to keep picking new thoughts that are just slightly better, slightly better, slightly better. And each new thought is a new rung on the ladder. So eventually you're going to move from the bottom rung all the way up to the top rung, which is that ultimate thought. So, for example, if we identify a pain point that you get annoyed with somebody that you're partnering on with a project at work, and you have identified this pain point and you've recognized the main thought causing this pain for you, this annoyance for you is they don't care about this project as much as I do. So, let's say that's the thought that's been your brain's been offering you on default. What is a slightly better thought than that? Maybe a slightly better thought would be they're trying their best. Or maybe a slightly better thought would be I can help them by giving them direct feedback. Something along those lines. So you don't have to go from they don't care about this project as much as I do to they're the best partner on this project ever. That might be the top rung of the ladder. That's too much of a leap. So choose a redirect that's just slightly better and practice this thought. Can you believe it to be true? Can you make it feel true? That's the goal here, is just to move your way up the thought ladder. I like to think of my habitual thoughts as like the channel that my brain is tuned into. It's the channel that's always on as soon as you turn on the TV. That's where it is by default. So by understanding what thoughts are causing the pain, redirecting, choosing a slightly better thought, think of it as like gently adjusting the channel in your mind to a new program. So begin watching and learning this new program until it begins to feel natural and effortless to you. So you recognize the thought that's causing you the pain. You remember, oh, I want to change the channel on this a little bit. I want a new program. So change that channel, move up to the next thought on the thought ladder, and just start practicing that thought, watching that thought, being familiar with that thought. And finally, that thought is going to be your new default thought, your new habit thought. This is making progress. It sounds simple and it sounds not very exciting, but it's making huge progress in learning how to become the boss of your brain. Step 6 is to repeat the process. Repeat, repeat, repeat. As soon as your new thought becomes your new default thought, it's a habit, it's kind of the new channel your brain is tuned into. It's time to pick a new, slightly better thought and start practicing that one. Remember, the goal is moving up the thought ladder, all connected to this particular pain point, to start to feel better and better and better about it until eventually that pain point is gone. And now you have space in that 50% of your emotional life for clean pain instead of dirty pain. That is the whole goal of becoming the boss of your brain. Again, this may feel like slow progress, but I promise doing this daily will give you more and more control over your thoughts, over your brain, so you can intentionally minimize thoughts that cause dirty pain and make space in that 50% of your emotional life for more clean pain, the kind of discomfort necessary to achieve your goals. Before you go, I want to tell you about a super cool new tool that I have for you. This tool provides you with 24/7 access to ask me anything about any video ever posted on this channel. So it's called Ask Amber. It's AI. It's really weird to say that. But when you type in a question to the Ask Amber AI, it will scan every video ever posted on this channel and reply with a custom answer to your specific question within seconds. I mean, seriously, how cool is that? So if you heard something weeks or months ago that you want to revisit, you don't have to go back through and find that video or even that specific spot in the video. All you have to do is type your question into Ask Amber in the AI version of me. Again, this feels very strange to be saying this out loud. It's going to do all the hard work for you. It'll scan through those videos. It's going to give you a custom answer all within seconds. And all you need to do to access this free tool is to drop your name and your email in the link below. So take advantage of it. It's so cool. And make sure to drop a comment below and let me know what you think about it. Thanks for watching.